Okay, cool. Let's get started. So hey everyone, you have made it to Friday afternoon, so congrats for that. Hopefully you're still not too tired and you've still got some energy for a few more talks. My name is Stefan. I'm a product manager at Mozilla.ai. Hands up if you've actually heard of Mozilla.ai. Actually, that's not too bad. So yeah, if you haven't heard of us, we are a startup that was funded by the Mozilla Foundation to focus on trustworthy AI. And this is going to be a lightning talk, so it's going to be really quick. And we're going to talk about a couple of projects that we've been working on called Blueprints and AnySuite. So at Mozilla.ai, one of our kind of core missions is helping developers kind of confidently build with open source AI. So with that in mind, I'm going to talk about two projects. The first one is called Blueprints and is a bit more community and learning focused. And the other one is called AnySuite, and that's a bit more focused on developers. Cool, so I'm going to start with Blueprints. So this is a community initiative, and we started it kind of earlier this year. And we started because we were speaking to a lot of developers, especially the ones who are new to open source AI. And one of the things we kept hearing was that it was kind of hard to get started, especially if you're new to it. This space is really moving very quickly. There's always a new open source tool to try, a new framework. It's kind of hard to keep up. And not always very accessible. You know, you'll find like a GitHub repo, and the first thing it asks you is for an OpenAI API key. So we basically thought, okay, what could we do? So we started this Blueprints project as basically a friendlier way to showcase what was possible with open source AI. And basically each blueprint is basically like a prototype app that you can kind of clone and customize, and a way to kind of showcase what you can do with using only open source models and only open source tools. And we also try to make it a bit more accessible in that we tend to focus on models that are a lot smaller. So you can run it on your computer more easily without needing to always like have an API key that's going to cost you money. And really we see it as a showcase of the best of the open source builder community, and a way to kind of share cool and new exciting projects. So we've got a website, blueprints.mozilla.ai. If you go to that, you can find them. We've got a bunch up there. A lot of them we've created ourselves. Some of them we created with partners like Flower.ai to showcase like how you can actually get started with things like federated AI. And some are actually built by the community, where we thought like this was a cool project and they worked with us to build it. They're all also on GitHub. They're all based off of the same kind of template. So once you kind of use one, the other one should be pretty easy to use. I can kind of show you guys the website in a little bit more detail. If I get out of this. Let's come up. So yeah, here you can see the website, and you can see we've got a bunch of different blueprints. I'm going to kind of pick one. Let's go with kind of build your own timeline algorithm. And with this, we try to make it super accessible. So each one kind of has a hosted demo that you can kind of try, which gives you like a really nice way to kind of give it a try before you start it. And then we also try and really emphasize the open source tools we're using. So here we're using like Llama and Marimo, which is really cool. And I think what's sometimes missing with a lot of repos is really like some of the technical choices that you make when you're building something. So with this as well, we've tried to kind of emphasize some of the technical decisions you've made. So if I go back to my slides. So basically with this project, really what we're trying to say is like, if you're new to AI, check it out, see if you can kind of start following them and start using them. If you're already building and you're using some cool open source tools, or if you're even working on your own open source tool, there's a button on the website where you can submit your blueprint idea, and we'd love to showcase it, bring attention to it, and really show the best of open source. Cool, so that was the first project. I'm going to talk about another project that we've been working on, and this is called AnySuite. So one of the things that we kind of like to think about is for developers, how can we make it easy to give them choice? How can we kind of help them get the best out of the tools they're using, but still be able to kind of switch and not lose speed and avoid vendor lock-in? So we developed something called what we're calling AnySuite. We've got a few different libraries at the moment. We've got AnyLLM. That's basically is a single interface to different LLM providers. AnyAgent, which is a single interface to different agent frameworks. And then Agent Guardrail, which is not coming out for another kind of couple of weeks, but that's going to be a single interface to different guardrail models. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about each of these. So I'm going to start with AnyAgent. So if you guys have tried building an agent, pretty much everyone starts by picking a framework that they want to use. And there's a bunch of different ones, like, I don't know, Mistral agents, Hugging Face agents. And they're all kind of basically trying to do the same thing, which is make it easier for you to kind of build and run an agent. But they all have their own kind of syntax and different layers of abstraction or opinionated architectures. So they're all a little bit different. So even if you kind of build an agent with one framework using the same kind of instructions, same tools, and then try and build another agent with the same framework and use this exact same instruction and tools, you might actually find you get quite different results. And there's also a little bit of overhead. Like if you get started and you've built like your entire ecosystem with something like LangChain, it then becomes a bit of a pain if you want to switch to using a different framework. So what we want to do with AnyAgent is basically build a single interface so you can build your agent once, and that agent will work. And then if in future you want to switch framework, you can just change one of the parameters and change something from like LangChain to OpenAI, and the agent will still work, but you'll be using a different framework. So this is really cool. And what's nice about it is what we've done is we've standardized all the tracing between the different frameworks with OpenTelemetry. And that means that no matter what framework you're using with AnyAgent, the traces will be consistent. And traces are really important if you want to try and evaluate and understand what your agent is doing. And so that we also, because of the importance of that, we also included some evaluation capabilities in AnyAgent. And that means we're doing that with LLM as a judge or agent as a judge. That means you can kind of define some very high-level criteria with natural language, and it gives you a really nice, easy way to start evaluating an agent from the beginning, which is really cool. This is kind of how you can start it. It's very, very, very few lines of codes. We've got a bunch of cookbooks that show you how you can use A to A or MCP with it. What's nice about it is that if you wanted to just switch from using something like TinyAgent to OpenAI agents, you would just change that string there. I don't have time to show it, but we have a cool Hugging Face demo on our Hugging Face profile. And one of the things we did was with this is you can just choose whatever framework you want, whatever model you want, and then run this surf spot finding agent, which is quite fun. It has a few different tools. And then we also included kind of some custom evaluation you can play around with. And what we like about this is like, we did this with the surf spot finding agent. It gives you like a really nice, quick, easy way to actually do some baseline evaluations on different frameworks and different models. So for example, this was like really quick experiment you can do right at the beginning. You set up your agent, you give it a few tools for finding a surf spot, and then you can swap different models, you can swap between frameworks, and you can get kind of a good feel for like which one is working based off of your evaluation criteria, which is really nice. Next, I want to talk a little bit about AnyLLM. So we released this maybe like a month and a half ago. Start of this, like I guess a lot of people ask, like, why do this? You can just use the OpenAI standard, and that's true. You can, but you will find that even though providers say that they're OpenAI standard compatible, in reality, they often kind of add in additional parts, which means it isn't necessarily always compatible. And so with AnyLLM, we decided to work on a really easily maintainable, really lightweight library where you just have one interface and you can use any providers. This really kind of helps you switch if you need to in the future. What's also really nice with it is that we're using the official SDKs when they're available to make sure that they remain compatible, performance, and stable, and that when you switch, nothing breaks. Even if you're using the OpenAI standard, often it looks like it's going to be compatible when you switch, but then you'll run into a bug because one of the providers has added in something you didn't expect. So all of that, we use the official SDK, so all of the bugs get fixed upstream, not in our code, which means it's really nice and lightweight. And obviously, it also doesn't need any extra infrastructure. There's no proxies, no gateways. You can just plug in your API keys and get started. Cool. So that was exactly 10 minutes. I'm happy to take a couple questions because I don't think the next speaker starts for a little bit. But we'd love for you to check out. Oh yeah, this is just a little demo that you can find on the LLM repo, which shows you switching between a bunch of different providers really easily, including Ollama. But yeah, we'd love for people to kind of take a look, start contributing, see if you want to start switching to using any LLM in whatever app you're building, and really just have the ability to choose what works for you. So thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question on one on any agent and another on any LLM.
Sure.
The first on any agent, is it agentic framework? Is it agentic language like we saw in the morning demo? Is it just evaluating multiple agentic frameworks?
Yeah, so I would think about it as just like an interface that allows you to use other frameworks. So it kind of sits on top of agent frameworks where you can define your agent and then it will use, you can just like specify which specific framework you want to use. Maybe I can use this. So you're going to import it. It's basically a library. And then
Usually the agent would be built in any agent framework, or I will build in a. So for example, I built in Mistral's agent framework.
Yeah.
Then I will give it to any agent to switch to.
No, you would actually start straight with any agent. So you'd build it just using any agent. So it's like a framework in that sense. But within that, you can just specify one of the first parameters there, which is the framework that you actually want to use underlying it. So yeah.
And then I use any agent framework to build the entire agent.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. And the second question on any LLM is, we also have Ollama. So is it similar to Ollama where I can install any LLM in my machine and start using it?
So it works a little bit differently. I think it's not really it is not a model provider in the sense of Ollama. It's more of an interface, so that for calling model endpoints that allow you to kind of switch between anything. Yeah, exactly, to APIs. So you could actually call within any LLM. You could have, for example, your model could be a model within Ollama. From there, that would call that endpoint.
And can I do inferencing as well using any LLM?
Yep. Yep, go ahead.
You mentioned for any LLM that sometimes there is OpenAI API like incompatibility.
Yeah.
Could you maybe list some of these incompatibilities that any LLM is fixing essentially?
Yeah, sure. So it really depends on the models that you're using. But if you, let's see if I can find an example that I can bring up on the screen. And yeah, we're at time, so please feel free if you have no questions to bounce. Yeah, so I don't have a specific example, but what tends to happen is there's a lot of providers who will extend the spec of, say, like reasoning models with unique things. And that means that like if you're using one model and you're calling it in a specific way, and then you switch to a different model, it'll break. So I think there are sometimes some risks of relying too much on the OpenAI. I mean, if it's working for you, in most cases, it might work in like 90, 95% of cases, but we have seen some issues ourselves, especially with reasoning models when you switch from one to the other. No worries. Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. That was very interesting. Can you talk about some of the use cases of any agent which are possibly used in production?
Yeah. So with any agent, I would actually frame any agent from where we've seen people get the most out of it, useful when you're experimenting in the early stages. So you have an agent idea, you want to like see what framework might be useful to get started with. It's a really nice way to provide initial instructions, add initial tools, write it in one way, and then switch between frameworks. Add some evaluations and see which ones are working for you. I think a big mistake people make when they're building agents is they start working on evaluations way too late. And actually just having a few really simple evaluations right from the start can help you avoid the agent regressing in ways you're not really monitoring. Because if everyone's experienced building agents, you kind of start with something, you keep improving it, and then it sometimes regresses in other ways. So I would see any agent as a great way where you get started and you get your agent to a really solid baseline. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about how you compile to WASM in the browser and like what frameworks you use? Because I know that can be difficult.
Oh yeah, the WASM one, yeah. I didn't actually work on that, so I don't have too much details. However, literally, we've released 2 blogs about it that I would love to send to you, where you'll get like a lot of details with it, because it's pretty cool. And I think Mozilla as well released something yesterday that I can send over to you. That's quite interesting.
Great.
Sweet.